Hello, thanks for joining. Today we're going to take a look at Boyum's B1Usability Package. It's a tool set designed for technical and even non-technical users to really streamline and automate SAP Business One. So let's take a look at how it works. Let's jump right into it, and let's just take a look at some of the functionality the B1Usability Package can bring to the table. So here's an example where I'm going to bring up my business partner, Earthshaker Corporation. Now, what we're going to do is, if you've got the B1Usability Package up and running, it's actually an add-on that lives in the add-on directory. And so here you can see the B1Usability Package and all the different ways to kind of configure it and automate, streamline Business One. Instead of just jumping into the setup and whatnot, let's actually look at how it's used. So here I'm in a business partner record. Now with a right mouse click, you'll see B1Usability Package, and these are all the things that I can do. I can actually create a configuration, a validation that says, when this window opens, do X, Y, and Z. Or when this window is about to close, do something else, create an activity, a note, whatever you wanted to do. This gives you the ability to have logic, your own logic, when a form opens up, when data is loaded into a form, when the form's about to close, and it even gets better. This can also be done here at the field level. So at the field level, I can come in here and I can create a validation that says, hey, when we focus on this field or when we leave this field, if we press a button before or after, if we double click something, then perform this user-defined piece of functionality. So those are more of the IT related types of capabilities, but let's look at some of the non-IT, real simple practical things you can do with the B1Usability Package. So what we'll do is let's add some function buttons to this window. So right here are a default list of functions that come right out of the box with Business One. So if I'm looking at a customer, wouldn't it be nice to see their aging with just a click? So let's go ahead and add a button that will allow us to run an AR aging or an AP aging if they're a supplier. Now let's go ahead and let's add a second button. And so while we're looking at the customer, wouldn't it be great to be able to put in a quote and also an order? So let's go ahead and let's grab quote and order. And now for the caption, of course, we'll just key in quote. We'll key in order here. There we go. And so we're beginning to add in these quick launch buttons that are going to make our life so much easier. And then the last one might be creating an activity. And what we might label this as simply as note. Now, let's go ahead. Let's add our function buttons and watch what happens. Let's cancel out of this screen. Select OK. Now, next time we go into our business partner master data, you're going to see some quick launch buttons. There we go. So I now have buttons on my right that give me the ability with one click, as an example, place a quote for this customer. Opens up the quote form, copies over all of my customer details, just like that. Or if I want to see an aging, I'll go ahead and select aging. Now, if there's anything I want to change here, if I want to maybe run this for, I don't know if you guys have branches turned on or not, but it's all set, ready to go, and click OK. There's my customer receivable aging. Create an order, same thing, add a note. If I click note, you see what it does. It launches the activity, copies my customer information over, and lets me key in whatever kind of note I want to take. So that's an example of some quick launch buttons. Now we've just scratched the surface with those. Let me give you another example. There's a feature called macros, where you can actually create macros. So here's an example where I want to be able to do a, when I do a goods receipt, I want to capture my quality information. So I have that same activity here, but this time I'm actually feeding it information. So when I do a goods receipt and I want to QC something, I just click my QC activity and watch what happens. You can see what it did. is it not only did it launch the activity like we did before, it copied my supplier name over, but it also set this up as a quality receiving inspection. It added some remarks. This is a receiving inspection QC task. And it even linked this goods receipt to this activity. That's pretty cool. Now, it did that by creating a macro. So if we go into our, let's edit our function buttons here. And let's take a look. Now, last time we just simply were executing an activity. But this time what we're doing, we're executing a universal function. And again, this is a B1 usability package feature. So if I open up my universal functions, now you'll see a macro. And I know this looks scary, but it's not. This is really simple. This is activating 5904. What the heck is 5904? You're saying to yourself. Well, if we come in here under view and we turn on system information, then when we go to our modules here, if you look on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, that gives us the menu item that SAP sees it as. We might see it as activity. SAP sees it, in this case here, 2563. Well, we're executing 5904. So if we take a look, when I do a right click here, I also have the ability to create a new activity. And if you look on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, there's our 5904. So the reason we would launch an activity this way is because when you do that, it automatically links the, in this case here, the goods receipt to the activity. So that actually saves us some work. So, be cognizant of where you're launching your procedures from. But if we look at our macro here, you can see it's pretty straightforward. So now we see we're activating 5904. We know what that is. That's basically doing a right click and selecting activity. Then we're setting this field here to the word quality. So if we run this again, QC activity, here we go. You can see the type field is set to quality. And that's what we're doing here. We're setting the type to quality. This information here, you can see that when we click in that field. On the bottom left-hand side of the screen, it says, oh, this is item 68. And so we can see that over here. We can see that that's 68.0 number. Now, I'm really lazy. And so what I like about B1Usability Package is I can simply right-click from this field, and I can just simply say copy system information, and there it is. And now I could just simply highlight in here and then do a Control V and paste it right in. So I'm setting this field to quality. There we go. I'm setting this field here to receiving inspection. There we go. And then I'm setting this field here, which is my remarks field, to receiving inspection QC task. So there I've provided a macro. And this is one of the really neat features of the B1 usability package, is it's not just going to launch an activity or launch a service call from a business partner, a quote, or an order, but it can actually transfer data to and from different screens. Now let's go into the macro capability a little bit. And what I want to do is let's look at the online help here for this functionality. And to kind of see it in the best light, if we select macro here you can see all the things that you can do, all the different options where you can prompt a user for things. You can mask enable, disable, hide, freeze, change the colors, change the focus. You can set what we saw here where I set fields to a certain thing. What's used quite a bit is a transfer and transfer back, where you're able to transfer information from one form into another. And so you may start entering data in one form. By the time you're done, you could completely update a completely different form by the use of these macros. So these macros are like having a user you don't have to pay a salary to. They basically will give you some really good capabilities within the system. And so let's go ahead and we'll leave that. Now let's look at another feature. One of the other features that you can do with the B1 usability package is also some really cool reporting. And so if we go into my sales reports, I've got a couple of reports here. One of those is a shipment performance report. So let's go ahead and execute that report. Now, when I run this report, it wants to know a start date. So I'm going to put in 1/1/20 last year so we can get some better information here. But this gives you the ability to have collapsing reports, a lot like pivot tables in some respects. So here I can see, based on my customer group, how was my shipping performance? So if I open up my high-tech group here, I can see I've got one customer, Parameter Technology. Here's all the dates we shipped them. And now I can see what was my shipping performance on 4/29. Everything was on time. How about on 3/4? So it looks like I've been pretty good with this customer. Now, if I expand all the rows here, you can see for some customers are on time, other on early, some might be late, but this is looking at every single shipment I've done since 1/1/2020. And again, we did pass some late ones. Let me back up a little bit. And you can see, here we go. So you can see we also had some early, some on time, and of course, some late shipments. So this will give you a really good view of every thing you're doing. But what I like about this is the ability to have collapsible reports. Because, I mean, let's face it, if you've got 1,000,000 items in your database, the last thing you want to see is a report that lists 1,000,000 items. You want to be able to categorize your data. And this gives you the ability to do that. Now, how we did this is, if we go back into the B1Usability Package, let's go ahead and let's edit this universal function. So now we're back into the same universal function we were just in a few minutes ago. But this time what we're doing is we're creating a SQL report instead of a macro. And here's my SQL report. And up here is my collapsing level, 3, which means the first 3 columns will be collapsible. So that's an example of using that universal function to create a collapsible report. And now you're thinking, well, Mike, how did you get it on the main menu system? That's real easy too. So let's go into the add-ons. Let's go into the B1Usability Package. And in here, you can see I can add and edit menus. This gives me all of my menu structure here, so I can see all of my menus. And what I'm able to do here is I'm able to easily add some things, change my menus around. If I want to relabel, let's say on my menu in purchasing where it says open items list, if I want to relabel that menu item, I can. I just key it in here. Here I've added 2 reports. I've added a drop ship PO status report, and I've added a store replenishment report. If we drill down, you'll see that these are those universal functions. And again, these are nothing more than SQL reports with collapsing levels. So it really makes reporting a lot more manageable. But here's where your, add, edit menus. This is where you could take all your custom reports and queries and add those into the B1Usability Package for you. Now, there's some other things the B1Usability Package brings to the table. It also brings the ability to create these things called Kanban boards. And if we take a look at one in use here, I've got one in my CRM module. And so here I can click on my Kanban board. And this will give me a Kanban board of all my opportunities. And so I'm able to see all my opportunities. And if I'm going to go from, say, a lead to a first meeting, I just drag and drop. And that updates Business One real time. If I want to drill down and look at an opportunity, then I can drill down and look at that opportunity. Now, again, you see those quick launch buttons. Now I can go the other way. I might be in an opportunity and I want to bring up my Kanban board. So you can kind of see how this all works together. Now, this one's going to blow your mind. Here I'm looking at an opportunity and I want to bring up multiple forms. So I'm just going to click this button here called Sales Pipe. And what it does, you can see here, is it brought up multiple windows. It brought up my opportunity pipeline up here. Down below it, I have my dynamic opportunity analysis showing me how my sales reps are working these opportunities. I've got a stage analysis. So In that case there, that must have been a macro. That was a macro that launched all these other procedures for me. So again, some really neat things that you can do. Now I'm going to close all my windows. Here we go. And so that's another example of pushing that button. But those Kanban boards are absolutely fantastic. And you can use those anywhere. You can use those in production, in sales, in service, anywhere you think you can create a drag and drop Kanban board, you're able to get creative and use those. Now, there's some additional features here. We talked about the add, edit menus, universal functions. There's also the ability that comes with B1Usability to create some calendars. And what I've done is I followed Boyum's instructions and I replaced the default SAP Business One calendar with my Boyum calendar capability. And what I'm showing you, you get all of this with the B1Usability package. And so now let me open this up. And now this is a calendar that shows an overview of everything I have going on. If I work on the inventory system, well, then maybe I just want to see what's going on in inventory or just my activities, which is what the standard SAP calendar does. Here I can see all my activities and everything else. Or if I want to look at what's going on in production, how long have those production orders been going and so forth. So this is a really neat feature. You can create customizable calendars of literally anything going on inside of Business One. Okay, a couple of more features in here is universal functions. But before we get there, let's talk about the toolbox. Now, the toolbox is a plug and play kind of solution where you can turn features on or off on demand. And so we'll start here with business partners. Do you want to use an address copy system? Do you want to add an email button to your business partners and be able to email them directly from the business partner form, custom templates? Let's see, what else do we have here? Use a hide from list. You want to hide certain documents from the list. You want to use flags. You know, just simple stuff like that. Do you want to use flags? Well, what that means is if I go into, let's say, a sales order here, and I'll open up a sales order. And in this case here, we'll select Earthshaker. What's going to happen here is you're going to see there's that flag. There's an American flag. So this lets me know whoever I'm dealing with. Now I've got another customer in Japan. So if I select Ayoma Trading, then you can see there's a Japanese flag. So there's some really cool features that you can turn on or off. Now this is just business partner related. And then we can go to the item master. You know, do you want to start in the description field? Do you want to hide items so they're not showing up in the list on different documents? Do you want to use add a line item search to the row level of your documents? You want to start in a name field and so forth. I won't go through all of these, but you can see that there are different checkboxes that you can use to turn some really neat functionality on without even having to do any kind of programming or coding. Now, one of the other real fabulous features of the B1Usability package is the dashboard capability. Even though I am in a HANA deployment, one of the cool things about this is the B1 dashboards. And so let me bring up my dashboards here. So I've got a little over a half a dozen dashboards in my system. And even though, you know, you've got cockpits, I don't want to confuse your dashboard, Boyum dashboards with cockpits. Let's say I want to take my opportunity dashboard and I want to edit it. Well, what this is going to do is Boyum delivers a whole new dashboarding capability. And it lets you do things like add in heat maps and all kinds of stuff. And so this will give you the ability to come in here and you know, edit dashboards, add new dashboards, remove duplicate dashboards. And it comes with a complete dashboard designer. And so here we go. So here's my dashboard editor. This is something that you've probably never seen before, but this comes with the B1Usability package. And this is where I could go out and add pie charts and gauges and all kinds of things. And it's all query based. So you can generate your queries in Business One and you can add all kinds of widgets. If I want to add some gauges as an example, and then I can drag and drop and put, wherever I want to, these gauges to be added. And then I can start, grab the data source or the query I want to use and so forth. And I'm off and running. Now, where this really gets kind of cool is that you can also access these through the web. So if I open up my browser here, I'm going to then in my browser, go to my Boyum dashboards. This is going to bring up a web form that contains every single dashboard I have enabled on it. And I'll be able to go through and look at all of this information without having to log out or log in or go to different modules. What's kind of neat about this too is if you have, let's say, C-level executives or other folks that you really don't want them in Business One, but you want to be able to give them information so they can run their reports and be happy with, without having to actually log into Business One. Then this is it. Exactly. Here I can see, what do you want to go to? There's even a pivot table here. So if I want to categorize my sales, and then I want to break down those sales, any number of different ways, I'm able to do that and look at this information. So I can run reports. If I want to get a review of production, everything going on in production, I can see what's been released for production, what's been recently closed, what's my capacity here. It's a lot of neat stuff you can do. So we can access all of those portals, not only from within Business One, but also from the web. There's a lot more you can do with the B1Usability Package, but those are some of the highlights. Again, it installs real quick and easy. It lets you totally change your menu. It lets you totally change your screens. One last thing I'll mention, we'll show this from the item master. I'll bring up an item here, and let me bring up one of my manufacturing products here. We'll expand this, and there we go. So I'm going to bring up this hose here that I manufacture. If you notice off to the right, these are all my user-defined fields. So one of the really neat features of Business One with the usability package is the ability to create your own tabs. A lot of folks, sometimes they forget to come over here to the right to capture some information on a user-defined field. So what you're able to do with the B1Usability Package is come in here and you can say, you know what, let's create a new tab. I'm going to create a custom tab, or I could actually create a tab that populates itself from a SQL report. But we're going to create a tab. And I'm just going to add some fields. We'll say style, color, size, collection, sub-collection, designer, institution, season. We'll say revision. And then any other fields we think that might be applicable. Is there a main code? And you can see I've got a lot of user-defined fields here. I'm just going to grab some of these fields as we go through here. And we're going to call this, we'll call this my tab. And we'll select OK. Now we're done. Just like that. If you were to try to do what I just did in the big SAP, it would have taken weeks and thousands of dollars. Now you can see when we look at the item master, we have a brand new tab called My Tab. And here's all those fields we had just added. And this just becomes part of the standard product. Now, if I want to remove this tab, I can. I can right mouse click on here and remove this tab just as easily as we added it. And so we'll come in here, and what we're going to do, let's go to the B1Usability Package. We can create additional tabs. And let's see, let me right click on this specific tab here, and then we can go ahead and remove that tab. I'll go ahead and clean up my mess here. And that tab is now gone. And so if we bring up our item master again, we'll see that this tab that was once here is now gone. We removed it. But this is where you'll have the ability to add tabs to your forms, add buttons to your forms, complete macros. do all kinds of things. The ability to add drop-down reports, collapsing reports inside the system. You can do all of that. I'll give you an example of one more here. Say who bought what report. And this report, I get asked a lot to show this kind of information. Again, we'll go back to 1/1/20 through today. Select OK. And this gives me a nice drop-down report of who bought what. You know, you may be selling millions of items throughout the month, and so, but you can't look through a million lines of data. And so this collapsing feature is really important and really nice. I can see what, let's say, Hoag Hospital purchased. And then if I want to drill down further, I can see when they purchased certain things. And again, I can expand my list and see everything across the board. Okay, well, we could spend a lot more time in B1 usability, but hopefully this gives you an idea of some of the different capabilities. To finish up, we'll just kind of recap on what we did. In the B1 usability, there's a productivity config where you can turn on, do you want the dashboards and that kind of thing. Then we can get a little bit deeper into the module configuration where you can create your own dashboards, where you've got some document management capabilities, print and delivery. We'll talk about in a separate video. You've got your calendars that we talked about, all your universal functions. Another feature here called Quick Create. This one is really neat too. Let me just give you an example of that before we go here real fast. I'm going to go into a sales order. And let's say that we're putting in an order and we're searching for our lead or our customer. We don't see it here. I don't want to type in new like this and go into a separate form, have to fill out this business partner form. To me, that's too much work. Wouldn't it be great if we could just create something on the fly? So if I hit my hotkey here, you can see it starts up that quick create form. And what I'm able to do here is I'm able to key in all the information in a micro form and actually create my customer right there on the fly. Now, I can do the same thing at the item number. And this happens more in a quoting phase. But if I hit my hotkey here, then just like with a customer, I'm able to, key in a couple of pieces of information and real quickly create an item on the fly without having to go into the item master. The other one that I think is real powerful is Master Data Manager. And this lets you mass change large amounts of information. So for example, if I want to mass change all of my items, then I can go into Item Master Data Manager. And what this will do is this will walk me through mass update of any selection criteria of items. And I find this extremely useful. I start out by, let's say I've got, this is all user definable. Maybe I'll just start by grabbing all my inventory items. And so I'll click find. There's all my inventory items. And I've got quite a few here, thousands. Now, what do you want to change? I've got my header portion. I've got a general tab on the Item Master General tab, Purchasing tab, Sales tab, Inventory tab, Planning, Properties, some reporting, some user-defined fields. There's some advanced things you can do here, but also another really nice one is the warehouses. And this is where I can remove a warehouse from all of these items or add warehouses to all these items, update things like minimum, maximum inventory levels, cycle counting, bin locations, that kind of stuff. So this gives you the ability to mass manage large amounts of data without having to go into each record individually. So much more we could talk about. But for right now, hopefully that gives you an idea of the value that the B1 usability package can bring to the table. Thanks for watching.